pretty much going to take a sip of tea, count to 10, and then introduce you, and we'll get rolling.
Right.
All right. Hello, Nevada County. This is David Clark Carroll with the Nevada County Tech Connection. We are an initiative of the Nevada County Economic Resource Council, and we like to look at what's going on locally in tech, manufacturing, small business. And so it's my great pleasure to have with us tonight Liam Ellerby from the Curious Forge. Now, you may have heard that name, and I'm here to, get a lot more info about the wonderful work these guys have been doing for a number of years in the community here. Now, what exactly is a makerspace, Liam? Because I think that's kind of the first thing that comes to mind of what you guys do.
Yeah, makerspaces have been around actually since the early 90s when a couple groups went over to Germany and they went to a printer hacker meetup and came back and came up with New York Resistor, and then down in San Francisco, can't remember the name of it right now, but those were the two granddaddies. So there's makerspaces are basically a way for tinkerers, entrepreneurs, artists to get together and work together in a group setting, sharing resources and what they group projects, things like that. There is a lot of different flavors of them. There's hacker spaces, which are more tech oriented. And then there's maker spaces, which is more manufacturing. But there's a blend, of course. We have laser cutters. We have a really nice electronics lab, computer lab, things like that. But so there's a blend now. There's also the fab labs that came out of MIT, which is more formulaic setting with the type of equipment, the space you need, things like that. So yeah, it's a way of getting together with the people that value the same thing you do, whether it's coding or robotics or art or whatever else. Yeah.
Very cool. So
yeah. There's probably about, I'm going to guess about 2,000 and climbing rapidly. The schools get into it. Corporations like Ford Motor got into it. So a lot of corporations are now finding that synergy between different engineering departments getting together is really helpful for patents. Ford found their patent rate went up 40% when they created a makerspace in their building. Yeah.
So that's a pretty cool little side alley to go down to. Do you think that's is that pretty much a testament to the nature of collaborative work, or is it just giving, if you're seeing what other people are doing, that's giving you ideas,
Yeah, or see both the above. Yeah, I think collaboration is super important. In my work for Lockheed, I always paired up engineers and software engineers, hardware engineers together, because that collaboration can get you past those stumbling points. And, they know that working together, if you work together, you're more likely to stick with it and get through. We want to show up, right? We're hyper-social creatures. So, yeah. Yeah, so I think that's both of that. And you can bring different perspectives and different disciplines to bear on a particular problem as well.
Very cool. So how did you get involved with the whole idea of a makerspace? And was the Curious Forge your first venture into this, or?
Yeah, it actually was. It came out of going to Burning Man and seeing these amazing kinetic art sculptures and just some beautiful group multidisciplinary art projects. And then coming back, and then 2011, I went to Maker Faire down in San Mateo, and I thought, well, this is a vehicle that we can use to bring, to get those cool big projects together, that one person typically doesn't do. So that was in 2011, and came back, and I just emailed all my friends, everyone I knew, say, hey, let's get something together here and get a makerspace going. And it was that's the most difficult part of it. There's a lot of crib deaths in maker spaces, and it's mainly the building that is the main problem. Getting people to cough up. Honestly, give me $50 a month, and we're going to have an amazing space, right? Yeah, you're looking at that, or $50 in beer or whatever. And so it was a tough sell to begin with. We got it rolling down on East Main, and down in back of the animal thrift shop there on the roundabout there. We were splitting 1,500 square feet with another artist. So we had 750 square feet. I emptied my garage into it, got people together. Cara Asalanis was a big promoter, and she's one of the co-owners of it now. And then we grew out of that pretty quickly. Went up to Loma Rica, 3,000 square feet. Was there for about a year and a half, 2 years. And we've been in this building for almost 4 years now. It's the old Grass Valley Group. It is the most amazing infrastructure I've ever seen. I've been to Iceland, Spain, London. I went to the biggest makerspace in the world in London. They have 1,200 members. And all over the U.S. I just love the idea. I love this collaborative approach to things. It really can make an impact as a business incubator, as a career starter, workforce development, all that. And this building here was the old Grass Valley Group manufacturing. So we got 3-phase all over, water, air, 3 feet of concrete underneath our feet, which helps in the summer. Keeping us cool. And yeah, this is an amazing space. Everything you could wish for in this space. So Nevada County has the best infrastructure makerspace of anywhere I've ever been. I've been over 100 makerspaces, so it's just amazing.
I mean, that's another one of those things about Nevada County that I think people forget a little bit about, that one of the world premier video manufacturing companies was here, still is here.
Yeah, still is. Yeah. And it was the biggest employer for many years here.
I mean, I was talking to the guys from Telestream not that long ago, and it's it's just so cool that the legacy of Grass Valley Group continues in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And you're going in there, and maybe someone's going to come out of the Curious Forge and be the next Grass Valley Group. You never know what invention, what innovation is going to come out.
Right.
That's a pretty cool journey from a teeny tiny little space down there. Now, what sort of tools and apparatus were you working with when you first got started? Was there much of the high tech stuff, or was it a lot more hand tools and?
I took a welding class. I worked for Lockheed on an intelligence fusion center, and we were overseas for a long time. But so I loved coding in that, but I really wanted to work with my hands as well, because when painter's house is always the worst, because they don't want to paint when they get home. So it was kind of that story. So I took a welding class about 25 years ago and just loved it. And so I bought a welder and a plasma torch, and then we had a throwing wheel, and we made Rubens tubes and Jacob's ladders and all those kind of things. But it was one potter's wheel, right? And so it's really blossomed. These type of spaces can grow organically from the bottom up, or from an institutional view, like the colleges and that, from the top down. And what I appreciate about the bottom-up approach is it does reflect the passions and interests of the community versus, this is what we should have. People would show up, and we have an amazing, one of my favorite parts of this, of running the space, is meeting all these super talented people that we have in our area. the guy that created the modem, to world-class carvers, wood carvers, and sculptors, and patent. Lee Ackerson has several patents in the electronics field. So it's just an amazing array of talent. And so when they show up and they say, "Hey, I'd love to share this," share my time and my experience over the years. And so we just give them a platform to do that. We look at what they need to get going, and we provide that space and those infrastructure things, and just let them rip. So we have a amazing array of things now. A lot of it is more of the art scene, although I have to say we have a smart art series where it's an introduction to Arduino and using Circuit Express with all those sensors on there, and trying to get the artists to incorporate some of this intelligence, not for logic, not for precision or efficiencies, but I read an article by an artist who did wearables, and he said it was more for the poetic and profane that we include wearable electronics into our our designs, like turning a evening dress into a cocktail dress with a push of a button using muscle wire and embedded electronics as well. So, yeah, but we do have needle blacksmithing, glass blowing, lamp working, jewelry, a great metal fab, wood turning, a digital fab. We have a couple of laser printers, a couple of 3D printers, in a sewing area, a big sewing area, co-working space. We just got a 3D clay printer, which is we're getting going now, and that's going to be a lot of fun for creating impossible to throw design. So I'm looking forward to that.
So that's a pretty cool little thing there. So it's a 3D printer that works in clay as opposed to the standard. I guess people expect it to be usually plastic.
Yeah. Right.
I'm assuming that has to be then fired and everything, but that gives you the basic shape.
Right. Yeah. And you can put design elements in there. In fact, I saw someone hack it and overlay the patterns of a musical instrument, a musical passage rather, to form some of the patterns in there. And things like, we're using the wood turning. There was an interesting guy who took, and there was a song, a drum beat called, a drum break called the Amen Break. It's the most sampled music in history. And so he took the sound wave from that and wood turned that. And so the idea sprung out of that is, hey, what if you just had your partner speak into your phone and I love you, honey, or get off my back, or whatever it is, and then would turn that for her or him. So the traditional things are getting cross-pollinated with others, and one of the things about a makerspace is about what I call deep personalization, and this is where you can take, say, a crib that you're building, a traditional crib you're building, and put on your laser cut on your face, or some affirmation. In the jewelry area, you can take and they spray painted it and then laser etched off their own design and pattern, and then acid etched it. So it's very personalized. I took we have a 3D scanner as well, and I took a cylinder of clay and squeezed it with my hand, and then 3D scanned it, printed it out, and I use it for particular tools, handle for tools, for something. And it's personal. It's my handprint. It's not, of average of, middle-aged men in the United States. So we're really about that. depersonalization, reconnecting with our own aesthetics. We did a bike hacking workshop, and some people are taller or smaller. They want to. I built a 12-foot trike, and other people did stretch, bikes, or so that was a lot of fun. Again, really personalizing that.
I just love the idea of taking something as organic and, you know, not digital as a tool handle and
Right.
going through all
Yeah.
of that process of personalizing it, scanning it. So you first scan that using the 3D scanner, then you print it with the 3D printer,
Right. Yeah.
and then you wind up with a hand tool, which
Right. Yeah. Handle for my tool, which is like fits me like a glove. Right. Yeah.
it's just that's I love that. It's just a perfect example of how tech infiltrating every little aspect of life, and not
Right.
because it's trying to be creepy, not because it's Hal from 20, but because it works and
Yeah.
it gives you a better product. That's I love the whole personalization side of it.
Yeah.
So I've got some pictures here I'd like to share with the folks so they can see a little bit of this space that you guys have. And because there's cool stuff here.
Yeah. That's our. It's fairly new area, blacksmithing, and that's Michael Jost up in the right hand corner. He was trained as a blacksmith in Germany, and then went into tech. He worked for SAP and just retired and wanted to get back to his roots. And so he's heading that up. And we have a master blacksmith that I purchased that equipment from, and he comes up. In fact, he's coming up in 2 weeks to give a workshop. Yeah, and just blacksmithing is getting in touch with a very old discipline that was so important, and just again reclaiming our aesthetics, creating things that are meaningful and what we value, and can yeah, create that aesthetically pleasing home, or yeah.
And blacksmithing, I think in particular, and here I'm going to share the glass blowing here too. Um, one of the things that I just love about blacksmithing particularly is how primal it is. That was
Mhm.
kind of what set when people started working with metal. That's a clear, the Stone Age to the Bronze Age to the Iron Age.
Yeah,
And here's an opportunity to go get in touch with that. What
yeah.
made civilization. Um,
Yeah, and if some philosophers say we're the sum of our relationships, and I would include materials as well into that you really meet yourself when you're working with this material. I have friends that, well, for myself, I would code, 8 hours a day and not be able to point at anything. And so that was troublesome for me because I love working with my hands. So I ended up doing interfaces, UI, mainly because I could get that pseudo feel of creating something, be able to point at it. But opening up the makerspace here was really, if you look up homunculus, it is a model of us in a sensory and motor representation of how much of our brain is devoted to that sensory and that motor. And you'll see our hands are huge, and our lips and mouth are also huge, because a large part of our brain is used for manipulating our hands. We are makers, that at our root, we are makers. And you can see that when in that magic of creating from raw materials something that you can hold and use as a tool, or throw at somebody, hunt with it, I should say. So yeah, I think there's a real magic that, especially with techies, that we can connect in with that.
that's one of the cool things too that you were saying, it's something, the idea of the makerspace is you're walking away with something that you can hold, that's physical, that's tangible.
Mhm.
Um, let's say you're someone just with an idea, you know, you've got an idea for some object you'd like to make. What are kind of the steps for a member of the community to get involved with you guys and, uh, fabricate something, whether it's, simple as the next generation of birdhouses or as fancy as you guys mentioned you were doing some printing of, what was it, masks earlier in the pandemic?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also the mechatronics group had built a uh, electronic garden cart with motors and things like that. And so they learned all about motors and motor control and things like that. Battery. They built a battery charger and also a solder for the lithium ion cells, which
Oh,
is
wow.
can be dangerous. So yeah, and we also have we're always checking in with the members and the community, the public, on what they want to see. And so we started a product design meetup. So once a month we get together and we have somebody with a degree in product design, and so we go through, this is what I'm trying to do, and they get feedback, use each other's networks, and a deeper dive into product design philosophy. No one really needs a mug. What they need is something to hold, to drink, to their establish their aesthetics, or project their aesthetics, and it's true of most products that there's underlying layers of meaning behind each of the products. So they do a deeper dive into successfully bringing a product to market. And we're looking at also doing van conversions. There's several members doing van conversions. So we're going to do a, um, a van conversion meetup. One of the downsides of living up here is, it's very expensive to live, and that tends to squeeze out these uh, creative solutions like yurts, cobs, vans, all of this type of creative thinking coming out of a need. So we're going to start that up, and we're open to anything. Any member in here can start their own group, outside group that invites the public. We're always looking for ways to get the inroads, channels for the public to interact. We do a great summer camps with skateboard making, where they learn about vacuum forming and veneering and gluing and bearings and things like that. And I do a metal welding art, which I love introducing people to that. It's kind of like a black magic to start with, and once you learn how to do it, it's fairly simple to get something going that way.
Let's back up for a minute and talk about that skateboard, because I think that's just such a cool way to get teenagers and
Yeah.
younger kids excited about stuff like this. Now, I get that you're having them form the actual board. Now, when it comes to the bearings that you're talking about, are they building from the ground up, or is this more just kind of the process of learning what's involved?
Right. Yeah. It's more of that. We have them for a week. And so a lot of it is you have to do the glue up, and talking about vacuum, they do steam bending, learn more about the wood's characteristics. And then we vacuum form it, and then they can, route it. We have jigs for their trucks and all that. But we did talk about, the different bearings and how they work, things like that. And then they can use a laser cutter to customize it and personalize it. They get a design together, and we laser cut it onto their board. So I'm kind of envious of them. These kids walking away with just a beautiful handmade, skateboard. Really cool.
That's just so cool. Now, let's drill down for a minute here about laser cutting because looking at your calendar, you guys actually offer a certificate in this, correct?
Yeah, so all of the areas, you got to think there's people from all walks of life, all ages. Our members are 18 to 85. We're pretty gender balanced there, equal men and women. And we do a lot for the with Kids Neo, Friendship Club, things like that. But so each of the areas, we have a training program, and it varies from a half hour in the ceramics area to 4 nights in the metal fab area. Because we have plasma cutters, plasma table, iron workers, welders, make TIG stick, all that. So it takes a long time to go through. You watch videos, come in, get hands-on, you come back and do a practicum. Some of the areas need even more like quizzes and stuff. We just want to make sure everyone's safe, that they can get a good start running on their projects. And we're all volunteer run, and we have about 3 volunteers in each area, and they're very accomplished, and they're there to support you and your project, whatever you're doing, And I run the metal area, and I've learned so much because people, hey, how do I put these 2 things together? What's the strongest way to do this? Should I use square tube or round tube? Things like that. If I don't know, I investigate. I got a lot of resources, deep resources in the metal fab area. So, and I love sharing. Everyone here loves supporting each other. And that's the culture we're trying to build here is mutual support, peer-to-peer skill sharing, deep personalization, and really an intersection of that, the disciplines. No reason why the laser cutter, you can't use that to do applique or make buttons with the laser cutter of your dogs, all your pets on your buttons, or even etch it into leather and things like that. So we purposely don't have walls. It's a big open space, so you can see what the digital fab people are doing from the ceramics area and the jewelry area and the fabric textile area. So it's more and more you see that in industry. Mechatronics is fairly new, and it's recognizing that, hey, electronics and mechanical engineering are just too close together now. So we need multidisciplinary people, and of course you need coding as well. It's equivalent, I guess, was a full stack programmers. They used to be separated, and now, we want people who have overall view of what they're doing.
Let's talk a little bit more about that mechatronics program you guys have there, because that's one of those. I talked to a professor from Sierra who teaches that, and it's just so cool what you can do within that discipline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What sort of programs do you have going? Looking forward to the summer for mechatronics.
Yeah, so our Lee Ackerson, who I mentioned before, he actually worked for Xerox PARC and then did a lot of consulting. He's been gone for a little bit. He's compromised. And so we're going to look at resurrecting that. But in the meantime, we do have the Smart Art series, which is going to be using the Circuit Express with all those sensors on it, and a servo control and all that, just to introduce it to the artists. It's getting easier and easier with libraries and all the tutorials online and stuff. And, the fact that they made the programs called a sketch, right? And we're going to have programming for kids as well, and doing a laser cutter weekend or week rather, and Tinkercad, introducing KiCad for simulation, electronic simulation, and building circuits stuff. So so we're just waiting for Lee to get back and launch that off.
Well, you guys have been busy in all of this downtime too. We've alluded to it, but haven't really talked too much about what you guys did when COVID first hit. How did you how was your pivot to the strange year we've all been through?
Yeah, yeah. In some ways, there's a gift in all of this, like we were talking about the building and how creative buildings come about because of the pricing. It was the same for us, is we really got a time to pause and really reassess what areas we need to grow. We totally blew up, created new rooms, expanded out the ceramics area, expanded out, color coded and pegboarded everything. So and organizationally, infrastructure wise, we did that, and as well as automating things. So now we're using QR codes all over. It's an honesty policy. Everything's an honesty policy. You buy something from our little store using QR code, and it updates our retail backend. Firings now, you get an automatic email after your thing's been fired instead of calling, twice a day, because it's exciting to get new stuff out of there, out of the kiln. So we're really automating a lot, and so that'll give us more capacity for other things, and more programs, and myself being able to make more. I've made less in the last 5 years, I think, than I ever have, because making this, right? I love it. I'm so grateful to be able to be working on something I really value and believe in. So that wasn't necessarily a complaint, just the reality of putting this thing together.
Well, as some of the pictures I shared showed, you guys have had events been going on here. Has that been recent, or have you managed to keep things going at a lower level?
Yeah, pretty much. We did at the stay home. Everyone was, we had the place to ourselves, basically. Me and Kara came in and did all that work. Other than that, we have so much space here that what we did was, if you were in an area, each area is probably several hundred square feet. And so you could be working there with a few other people, keeping the distance. We do masking, temperature at the door, sanitizing, things like that. So we work with the county as far as that went. We did have some essential, we have a co-working space. And so we did have some essential workers, network engineers and things like that that we were supporting during that time. And so it was much lower level. We're just opening up again and having workshops again. I had a blast on Sunday. I did a Mother's Day garden art. And so they used the welders, they used the plasma torch and iron worker, and they just went to town. It was such a blast to work with them. That cohort of mothers. Great, a lot of fun.
That sounds like one fun day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about turning people on to things that they don't even know. There was one guy who just wanted to go in and be able to weld, and I said, "Hey, come on over to the laser cutter. I'm doing a cert now. Just come on over." And he was on it for 3 months straight, doing all kinds of stuff. And it's one of those things. When you're prototyping, the kind of meme is fail forward fast. And so that's one of those tools that allows you to do that very quickly. And then bouncing ideas around with other designers, engineers, artists, and things of that nature. We got some great projects and great events coming up. It's a hot glass cold beer night. You can watch hot metal, cold beer, watch professionals do their thing while you're drinking out of a glass that was made there. And so looking forward to that. And some entering in the kinetic art sculpture races. We want to do that. We're working down, with the Downtown Association with some sculptural stuff with bike sculptures. Kind of interested to see what's going to happen out of that. That's starting up here real soon. And we're always looking for new and more facilitators who just love sharing what they have and getting that feedback and paying it forward and So we're also starting an apprentice program in each of our areas. So we're looking for a blacksmith apprentice, and that's a great opportunity. Someone who has a passion about it and can, show up and learn from, professional uh, blacksmiths, electronics and programming, also metal fab. I have two great apprentices in there, and they went from zero to now they're building cages, and all kinds of stuff. And so they really took it and ran with it. And so we're looking for people like that really want to dive into a discipline and take it to the next level.
Now, we talked a little bit about the skateboard camp. Are there other programs for teens and young folks coming up this summer that you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, all of them. I wish, the like the skateboarding. The guy that's doing is Gary Upton. He's a sculpt. He does sculptural furniture, and so these kids get that. Oh yeah, his expertise in years. We did last year. We did some foundry work. I'm going to be doing more of that. We'll be opening up a bronze foundry. Right now, we're doing sand casting with the kids. Did that last year. I did a metal art where first 2 days they learn how to weld, MIG weld, and then the last 3 days they just do their projects. And they get to use an iron worker and a MIG welder and plasma torch and all that. So that's a blast to do. And basically each of the lamp working, we'll have the glass blowing, the blacksmithing again. So there's just, a lot of activity. We're just starting to put it on the calendar now. And so people can start looking and seeing. And if anybody has a cohort, if they have, like I just got contacted by a mom who has 4 kids together and they want to learn to weld. So, if you have a cohort together, we can make that happen pretty easily. So there's, just so much to be excited about it. I'm vibrating a little bit for those kids, to get in there and experience all that.
So what's the best way for someone to take one of these classes? Does everyone need to be a member, or is this kind of there's members and then there's also people who pay for classes?
Right. Yeah. So we give the members a discount, 20% discount. And then they can go in something like the welding class. You learn to weld, but then what do you do with it unless you have a welder? And so the members can go in and start building and fabricating and stuff. But we are always trying, like the meetups. We have something called Meet Your Makers that are open to the public. We do have on our website a text kind of service. If you text "make it" to this particular number, we'll give you a text when we're going to have a skill share in a particular area, or Meet Your Maker, which is a more involved, hands-on. And there's always workshops. There's workshops going on all the time. And so any other, these meetups I was talking about, product design and van conversion, that's open to the public. And then like I said, if you have a cohort and you want to do something, anything from wood turning to indigo dyeing to, 2 weeks ago, we had a men's sewing to make your work apron. And that was a lot of everyone learned to sew. And then we had a pattern for them to make that they could customize with pockets and things like that. So unending.
I wish I could have taken that class. That's one of those, if you can personalize your work apron and know where all those tools are,
Right.
that's something people don't realize is valuable until a couple months from now. They're down under a house. Where is it? Oh, it's right here.
Yeah. And I like my design is Snap-on, because I love doing woodworking, metal, laser, all those, so I can snap off that pocket with those tools and put on another one for the other disciplines. So yeah.
I just love the whole aspect of it's not what everyone else has. It's what you made, and it's from that tool handle aimed right at your hand to custom everything.
Yeah.
Uh, we keep dancing around it, and I get that you don't want to toot your own horn, but I do want to talk. You guys were making PPE at the start during.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, we got all of our 3D printers going. I don't know, 16 hours a day, and I was starting to hear voices from the stepper motors. They get into these patterns, and maybe it was God talking to me after about the third or fourth day. And it was part of a much larger nationwide maker um, movement. So there's a Facebook group called Nation of Makers. And so they coordinated both design and distribution. And so all the maker spaces in the area got together, and we're just cranking out PPE. And I think there was almost quarter million pieces that were eventually made.
Wow. And was that just you and Kara running the machines?
Yeah, so there was three of us that just kept them going. I had most of them at my house, so uh, yeah, it was some ways traumatic hearing that nonstop. It's like what the people on the East Coast now are going to have with those Brood X cicadas. I heard a trillion as a number thrown out there, and they're going to be hearing that for a few weeks anyway.
I mean, I think that there were cicadas when I was back on the East Coast before I moved to California, and it's eerie. It's weird
Yeah,
when the whole hordes come out of the ground. Uh,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you did mention you were here for 16 years, so that's about right. There's the 13 year and then the 17.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Well, I think it's just so cool that you guys were able to pitch in and help out with that.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot of other opportunities. At their old space, we made a gasifier. That was part of Renette Senum's thing of you know, for emergency usage, a gasifier, if people don't know, allows you to burn a cellulosic material, and the output is a methane gas that in World War II, there was over 100,000 cars running on gasifiers. And you see them, if you YouTube it, you see them. So we built one of those as a project. And, you know, it really is very organic here. I just want to emphasize that, you know, college is fills a need, and I think we fill a different need. Although we are working with Sierra College, they're going to have a rapid prototyping course here in the fall, and so we're working with them and other institutions as well as other nonprofits. And so it's organic in the sense that if you have an idea, and you have the energy and the passion to follow it through, chances are we can make it happen here. You know, we have a really good infrastructure. We have a lot of resources in manpower and intellectual power. And so I just would invite everyone to bring out ideas we have millions of ideas. So ideas that they're willing to put energy into, and see what can happen out of that.
have you collaborated with Sierra before, or is this a new venture for you guys?
Yeah, well, they do have scholarships from Sierra College here, and so, and then one of the math teachers had a class here to do a project, and COVID hit. We were going to do the rapid prototyping last year, and COVID hit, and so they put it off again. And yeah, so we get students in, you know, especially with mechatronics and stuff. It's a great place to play and actually do applications as opposed to theory and that. So
And it's
looking
such a crucial
forward.
resource for Nevada County because a lot of times people they just assume they're going to have to go down the hill and
Right.
don't even think about what's right in our backyard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And we've actually had a number of people come up from the Bay, particularly because there was a makerspace here. Because it's ubiquitous down there. They have 12 or 14 maker spaces down there, they're all different flavors and that. And so, I'm a huge supporter of maker spaces, not just our own, but collaborating with Idea Fab Lab, Truckee Roundhouse up in Truckee, and then Hacker Lab moved out of Roseville. They were partnering with Sherrill College, but moved out, and I think they're just in their new space in Sacramento. Um, Great group of people down there as well. And I would like to give a shout out to Steve and Louisa Hunter for supporting all these makerspaces with the sewing. And you think, well, sewing is probably the most makery thing that you can do. If you think about how you can personalize and how we can spot some socioeconomics, political, even MAGA hats, things like that from 100 feet away. I mean, and so there's design and construction, personalization, all of that. And so they really, they're retired and they just go around to the maker spaces and support because they're mechanical marvels, sewing machines and that. So I just want to give a shout out to them for being so generous with their time and talents.
Well, and we, in fairness, we haven't really talked too much about that side of the makerspace too, and that's one of looking at the calendar. That's one of the things you guys currently have going on. So, if someone out there wants to find out how to make something out of cloth, out of fabric, using a sewing machine, that's
Yeah.
something you can get on. Pretty much looks like today. And
Yeah. Yep. Audra's out there now, certifying. It's a hands-on. We take you through how to use the different machines. We have industrial machines and sergers and overlocks and domestic machines. And so, yeah, talk about making, personalizing what you have.
well,
Deep
it,
pockets, rubber lines so you can put the soup in there or the whatever you need, wet food.
and cloth finds its way in everywhere. Once you're comfortable using those machines, I had a friend who was working doing the upholstery in camper conversions.
Hmm.
So you just never know where a skill is going to take you.
Yeah,
You-
and that kind of brings up the workforce development part of this. We've had people come in and one guy recently said he was trying to get into the elevators union, and they told him, hey, if he had a welding experience, that would really help him. So he took the welding course here. And I've been around to most of the fabricators here, Black Bart, Ace Welding, Best Trailers, and they're dying for people. Gabe up at Ace Welding, when I interviewed him for this certificate course that we were going to 12-week course, learn to weld, learn to fab, learn to measure, and give them a certificate to bring to these different employers. He said, yeah, I hired 2 guys last week, fired them this week, and they just didn't know what to do, and they destroyed a machine in the meantime. Safety is always an issue. 1 or 2 accidents can really impact your workers' comp payments and things like that. So we really hope to bring those skills and help develop those skills for our employers in the area, because it helps us all,
And again, that's one of the things we hear again, and again is how can we get people locally with the skills? And
Yeah,
so it's just so exciting that there's a place where you can go learn those.
yeah,
And again, you don't have to go down the hill. You don't have to spend a lot of time driving. You just have to go to the Curious Forge.
yeah. So let me just say, it feels like it's a long way out, but it's actually 9 minutes from Grass Valley, maybe a minute or two longer um, from Nevada City. and about 12 minutes from Penn Valley. And so what we started was a $20 challenge. We're just, everyone that comes in has the same reaction. Oh my God, or some expletive deleted that I can't say. And so what we thought was, let's encourage people to come out and just take a look at it. And so if they come out and they don't absolutely love it, I mean, if they aren't flabbergasted at what's to offer here, we give them $20. And if they want to join, we take $20 off their membership. If they can't join, we just give them $20 for a workshop coupon. So it's just come out and prove me wrong here. I think it's a win-win-win. Even if it's not for you, you may know someone that really could use that, being around creatives and having access to machines and that. So really want to encourage people to just drop in. We give tours all the time. We'll start the open houses again in July. We want to have a big blast out there with the hot glass cold beer night and have some fun with that.
That's one of the things that it's just so eye-catching. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can pull up this glass blowing class picture again, because it really captures people's imagination. You start from literally sand. You start with minerals, you start with a pile of dust, and you turn it into just the most
amazing
things that you can dream of.
Yeah, it is. It's a crazy material. It really is. And pictured in there with the hat on is Mark Einer, and in the yellow, well, let's see, beside him in the black shirt is Rob Call. And I just want to shout out to them. They helped get that going, put a lot of time and effort. They're both professional glass blowers. And we're going to be throwing up on the calendar tomorrow, the glass blowing, another workshop. It takes 3 days to get that thing up to temperature and get the glass cooked. And it's just amazing material. I love glass so much. The way it catches light, you can see through it. The things of the sculptural aspects, the utilitarian aspects. I tell you, staring into that crucible at temperature, it's 2100 degrees, is like staring at the ninth circle of hell. I mean, it's just fury in there with that molten glass. So it's beautiful in some way. Yeah, really encourage if you want to explore something like that. Look for it on the calendar there.
Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time here tonight, but I think we covered a lot of ground here. You guys have some amazing programs going on. Pretty much everything from sewing to blacksmithing, computer printing, 3D scanning, things I didn't even imagine would be under one roof.
Yeah. Oh, 20,000 feet, 20,000 square feet, and I'm good at filling spaces. So, we were had to walk sideways in the old 3,000 square foot space. I think we're good now. It's things will come up like the bronze casting. We want to get that up and running. But I would just invite people to, if they have ideas, if they have groups that they want to turn on to things, and or even start up a group of something they're interested in. I was looking at drone wars. I went to a maker fair one year, and they had this big netting up with these drones flying around battling each other. And I go, oh, we got the space here. Let's get that going. So that may happen. The other thing was the kinetic art sculpture race. If you've ever, you can look up in Arcata, they have that. Now that includes, design. You got to be able to go to 3 different or 4 different terrains: water, sand, mud, road race, and do it in style. It's got to be art and teamwork and pageantry. And so it just includes all this engineering and a lot of groups together, working together on a common design. So we really want to be a part of the next race up in Arcata for that.
Cool.
So
Well,
bring
hopefully
your
somebody out there
ideas.
watching wants to get involved with that and build something cool.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put at the bottom of this video links directly to your website so folks can get a direct look at what's going on, what's on the calendar. Sounds like there's going to be a lot more stuff coming online here in the next month or two.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, there's stuff happening right now, and you guys have the space to do it safe, and you're doing it well.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate the community resource that you're offering here.
Great. Thanks, David. And thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, we'll have to get you back on, talk about
The
some of
live stream from here.
yeah, exactly. Well, thanks so much for joining me. This has been David Clark Carroll with the Nevada County Tech Connection, talking with Liam Ellerby from the Curious Forge. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you got curious enough to go down and check out some of the cool stuff they got going on. Have a wonderful night.
Thanks.